Let me ask you about the Muslim. Should the Christians and Jews tolerate the Muslims?
Right. This is something I feel very strongly about, and I've done a lot of research, and I do a lot of work with the Muslim community, and I do believe that the three Abrahamic faiths do need to tolerate each other and understand each other. I believe that we come from the same God. I believe that we believe in the same God. We worship the same God, albeit from a different theological perspective. And if we look at Muslims as if, and I know sometimes people say, oh, Muslims don't believe in the same God, then I think we would have to say the same thing about Jews as well, because Jews also reject the idea of a triune God in the same way that Muslims reject the idea of a triune God, the idea of a Trinity.
So should we tolerate them, the Muslims?
As a people, as a religion, yes, I think we need to tolerate Muslims in the same way that we tolerate any other religion.
But they see Christians and Jews as infidels, worthy of death. And their Bible teaches you you can deceive the Christians and Jews. You can befriend them in order to destroy them. Whatever it takes, right? Should we tolerate them knowing that they might do that to us?
Yeah, I think a lot of those quotes or paraphrases are taken out of context from the Quran. The Quran was...
No,
okay. we might disagree on that.
I'm black and I don't read that well because, blacks don't know how to read.
I love you.
But that's not out of context.
Yeah, my understanding is that the Quran was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, or they claim it was revealed. I'm not saying it was or not.
Of course.
But they claim it was revealed over the course of time throughout his life, and that certain surahs or chapters of the Quran are meant to be understood within the context of that moment in his life or that moment of the Islamic community, and you cannot universalize it and say that it is meant for every situation. And so some of the things of, kill the unbelievers where you might find them, it is specifically
the Jews
meant,
and the infidels. Yeah. And any Muslim that don't believe in cutting off your head, take your neck off, right? Yeah. Should we tolerate that from them?
All the Muslims that I deal with are peaceful, God-fearing people.
Lord.
And I could introduce you to some of them.
Should we tolerate that, though?
We should tolerate people that believe in goodness. And the Muslims that I know don't believe in that type of violence or that type of brutality. And I'd love to introduce you to some of them. I want to invite you to come on some of the field trips I take my students on and meet some of the Muslims that I know and love and feel are brothers and sisters under the same God. I'd invite you to come and meet them.
How do you personally trust them, knowing that the moment they pop out of their mother's womb, they're taught that you are an infidel worthy of death and whatever it takes to deceive
that I am
you?
an infidel.
Yeah, because you're Jewish and Christian, so you're in double trouble.
Yeah.
Do you personally trust them?
I don't believe the majority of them, at least the ones that I know, believe that. Are there Muslims in the world that believe that?
No,
some
Matthew,
conservative.
do you personally trust them?
The ones that I know, I personally trust, because I don't think they believe that.
Would you walk down the road at night without a weapon with them?
Yeah, in fact, one of them is a police officer. I won't name him, but he's a police officer. He's a Muslim. He's an amazing human being. I trust him. I trust him.
The Muslim religion is spreading in the UK. Should the UK allow that to happen?
Yes, I believe so.
Why?
In the same way that it allows Judaism to spread or any other form of
But they're
Christianity.
attacking white girls and white women and raping and robbing and killing them, and then they won't allow the police department into their neighborhoods because of that Sharia law.
Yeah.
Do you believe in Sharia law?
Yeah, my understanding is that is sort of a misconception about what's going on there.
No, believe me, it's not. I know people from the UK.
Okay.
It's not a misconception.
There may be certain places where certain gangs or elements are more prominent in certain communities, but my understanding is that the concept of a Muslim no-go zone does not exist here in the United States or in Britain. I think that's false. And also we have to understand Sharia law. What do they mean by Sharia law? It's something that's kind of bandied about as if it were some kind of a book or a hard and fast set of rules that, you can't eat pork, you can't have alcohol, you can't do this and that and so forth, otherwise we're going to cut off your hands. That's not really Sharia the way that most Muslims understand it.
So you trust Sharia law?
My understanding of it is that it is a sort of a general
Do you trust Sharia law?
I trust my contacts and my colleagues in their understanding of what
Do
Sharia
you
is.
trust Sharia law?
All right. It depends on how we define Sharia. For
Do
them,
you
it's
trust Sharia
biblical
law?
law.
Do you trust Sharia law?
I trust the general Muslim understanding of Sharia in the same way that I trust Christian
Sharia law?
understanding of biblical law.
Do you personally trust Sharia law?
Once again, it depends on how we define it. You know, I mean, if you've got ISIS, their understanding of Sharia, no, heck no, I do not trust
Do
ISIS.
you personally trust any form of Sharia law?
Yes.
You do.
My colleagues.
Should we allow these people in our country and they'll be allowed to not obey the law of this land and bring in Sharia law? Should we allow that in America?
My understanding is that that is a false equivalency. One of the things that some
Should
of my...
we allow it though, in America?
If that is the case, if a person is saying Sharia supplants or supersedes the Constitution, no, but that's not what I understand
Because
them
of
to say.
time and I'm black and slow, should we allow Sharia law in America?
My understanding of Sharia, yes. And what has been shared with me is that it works well with the Constitution.
So we
It does
should
not-
allow in America.
Yeah. If it does not supersede the Constitution, then we should allow it.
Should the Jews allow it in Israel?
Should the Jews allow Sharia in Israel?
Right.
As a matter of fact, it was in Israel before the state of Israel was created.
Should the Jews allow Sharia law in Israel?
If we're talking about moderate and liberal conceptions of Sharia, yes. Not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, not Taliban's
Should
understanding
the
of it.
Jews allow Sharia law in Israel?
I will repeat. If we're talking about moderate understandings of Sharia, yes, it should be allowed.
So you're saying the Jews should allow moderate Sharia law in Israel?
Moderate interpretations of it, as opposed to ISIS's interpretation of it. So, for instance, should we allow Nazi understandings of biblical law or KKK white supremacist understandings of biblical law? Well, I don't want that.
Which is worse?
They're going to enslave you again, the KKK, if they had their way, you know?
Which is worse, Sharia law or the Nazi?
It depends on the time period.
Which is worse?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're talking about ISIS's
Which
conception of
is worse?
Sharia.
I don't know. Don't add
Yeah.
extra words.
Okay.
You confuse me.
Okay, my understanding of Sharia,
Which is worse, Sharia law or Nazi law?
Nazi law, in my opinion.
But do the Nazi cut your head off because you disagree?
They put about 6 million of my cousins in gas chambers.
Do they cut your heads off if you
they-
disagree?
They burned us up in ovens.
No,
It took too long
You're
to
not
cut
answering
your
the
head
question
off.
about cut your head off.
It took them too long to cut your head off.
If you think any form of Sharia law is fine, why don't we see Muslim protesting and demonstrating in America and the UK and other places against Sharia law? Why are they don't demonstrate against it, cutting off all the heads or preventing women from having freedom or cutting off your hands if you steal? Nowhere in Israel or in America or in the UK where Muslims, the so-called preacher Muslims or whatever they are, nobody's demonstrating against all that.
They are.
If they don't have a problem with it, why are they out publicly denouncing it?
I want to invite you to the Interfaith Solidarity March LA, which we've had for 6 years running. The one in 2022 will be on March 22nd in Los Angeles. You'll meet plenty of Muslims who are moderates and
But they're
progressive
not out
people.
protesting, making
They're
noise.
protesting. They're out there marching with me and my Christian
Against
brethren
Sharia law?
against any kind of religiously based violence.
How about Sharia law?
Including radical interpretations of Sharia, like ISIS, like Al-Qaeda. You will see some very, very moderate Muslims
I've
out
never
there.
seen a bunch of them doing it.
I want to introduce you to them. I
Okay.
want to show you the videos of previous marches talking about peace between all people, not talking about, and I'm going to cut your head off if you don't agree with me. These are wonderful people, and I want to introduce you to them.
Who you think are worse, the so-called white supremacists or the Muslim Sharia law Muslims?
So, I mean, I'll interpret that you're talking about like the Taliban or Al-Qaeda, ISIS,
Any
people
Muslim
like
that
that.
support Sharia law.
Well, once again, I'm talking about more moderate understandings
Which
of
is
Sharia.
worse because of time? Which
Yeah.
is worse?
I would
So-called
say-
white supremacists or the Muslim who believe in Sharia law?
I would say white supremacists, because their conception is I'm white, therefore I'm better than everybody else and I have the right to kill everybody else. Whereas not all Muslims that believe in Sharia believe in that interpretation of Sharia, that I'm a Muslim, I'm better than everybody else.
Who is worse, the black radicals who support critical race theory or white supremacy?
That's a tough one because I know a lot of black radicals who support critical race theory and they're not interested in killing anybody. Are there some of them? Yeah, I know. There's some rough stuff that's happened over the last couple of years in some of the protests, you know, that Antifa has gotten involved in. There's been a lot of burned buildings. I don't support that, you know.
So who is worse,
Yeah.
the blacks who support critical race theory or the white, so-called white supremacists? Who is worse?
I would say white supremacists because
White supremacists are worse than blacks who support critical race theory?
I think many of us have misunderstood the understanding of critical race theory. It's
No,
a term
it's quite clear. They're called the white people racist, evil, simply because they're white.
if a person interprets it that way, if that's their
all the
conception
blacks
of it,
do, and some liberal whites.
a lot of them don't. But if they're saying all whites are the devil, you know, sort of I don't know, Louis Farrakhan kind of understanding of the world. If that's critical race theory, that's not good. I don't support that.
Are you a racist?
That's a good question. I think all of us have a certain level of racism within us. We judge other people by a variety of different
Are you
things.
racist?
I think I have it in me. I think
I'm
all
not
of us
a
do.
racist.
Well, all
Are
right.
you a racist?
Well, once again, it depends on how we define racist.
No, are you a racist?
I think I'm no more racist than any other person.
Are you a racist?
I think the way that I understand how you're asking the question, I would say no, I'm not a racist. But we all have that.
What?
We all have that diabolical tendency in us to judge people. You know, it's part of humanity. It's an ugly part of us.
So let me ask you, do you believe in open borders for the United States?
No, that I don't.
Oh,
that's
good.
a way in which I'm a
Finally.
bit more conservative. Yeah, I could give you an answer. I don't even have to say, well, it depends on how you define a border. No, I do not believe in open borders. I'm sorry.
So I got to heat this interview up. I got to put my guest in the hot seat.
Yes, sir.
It's time for the hot seat.
Okay, I'll do what I can. Yeah.
So what I need is for you to answer these questions as quickly as possible.
Can I say I'll pass or it depends? I may not be able to say yes or no, or I'll be lying to you.
Oh, I got to ask you this before I get to it.
Okay.
Real fast. Do you love white people?
I love all people.
Do you love white people?
I love white people along with other people.
Do you love white people?
Sure, I love white people. I know you're leading in a certain direction. I love white people as much as any other person.